What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now PS Edition. I am Alex. This video, I want to talk about a topic. I want to talk about if the PS5 or if Sony's going to announce the PS5's price before Xbox Series X's. So, again, this is just kind of a general discussion topic. There's no recent news, at least when I'm recording this. I mean, what twist of fate would it be if there was something that happened in between me recording this and me putting it up? But I do want to have this discussion because we've danced around it a little bit in the past, and it is something that I think has come up a lot in probably just people's thoughts, and I have something to say about it. I feel like what we know can definitely lend us, a vision of what's to come, and that is that honestly, so what we know, here's what we know. Sony pretty much from all the reports, which again, I guess you take with a grain of salt, but literally there's some big, corporations that have gotten leaks or have literally talked to Sony and heard what they've had to say. I mean, it's pretty much confirmed at this point, right? Sony, from what we think we know, Sony wants Microsoft to go first. Okay, they want Microsoft to say, hey, here's the price, probably here's the release date, stuff like that, because Sony is able, with how they're manufacturing the PS5, that they are able to change some things around and get the price where they feel comfortable. They're okay losing money. They don't necessarily want to. They would like to make money in every console like they did on the PS4, but if they have to lose money, it's not going to be the biggest thing in the world, but they want Microsoft to go first. Okay, that's step one. Step two is Microsoft is trickling basically this information out on their Series X, right? They're talking about it, but they're not giving us, I guess, the two most important things, right? Which is price and which is release date. They haven't told us either of those, but they're giving us everything else. And what it seems like is Sony wants to do it all at once. They want to say, here's the system, here's the DualShock 5, here's everything it can do, here's all the specs you need to know about it, it's amazing, and here's the price, and here's when it comes out. That seems to be what Sony wants, whereas Microsoft, I guess just because of their situation, they're giving us a little bit. They're building excitement, and they are. And I'm not taking sides on this. By the way, they're building excitement. They're getting people excited for this, and they're still at the same time they're not giving us what we want kind of most, right? They're leaving that maybe because, and probably because, they're doing the same thing. They're saying, hey, we know we could probably change the price on this by change the price, I mean up or down at $50 or keep the same, I guess, right? But a plus minus 50 is where I would imagine both these companies are at. I don't think they can go, say they're thinking that hey, we're going to do 500. I don't think they can just change it the next day to 400. I don't think they'd be, I honestly feel like they can't drop it 100 or raise it 100 if that, it was even going to cross their mind. But I feel like that is the situation we're at. Now, another situation for Sony, specifically for PlayStation, is they're kind of running out of time. This channel is what they call PS Edition. I started it because I want to talk just PlayStation. Since then, I've expanded it to really all games, which is totally fine. I'm a big PlayStation guy, okay? I love both. I have an Xbox One. I have a PS4, but I'm a primary PlayStation gamer, and I will even recognize that, I'll recognize a couple things. One, I get that Microsoft is stealing all the thunder. I do believe, and I have seen people say this, that Microsoft was playing from behind the entire time, and now they're trying to crawl out of it. Sony is ahead. They were ahead, and when they announce something, it's big. You saw yesterday with the Last of Us TV show and with Ghost of Tsushima, those things blew out of the water in terms of excitement, in terms of people talking about it. Microsoft can't compete. Okay, I mean, factually, numbers of people interested, they can't compete. So, I do see that as well, where it's yes, Sony's playing it very, very quiet. They're letting Microsoft, for the most part, steal this, right? Have all this excitement. But at the same time, whenever Sony announces something, even small or relatively small, it explodes, and it's this major, major thing that's huge, right? So they are still, I think, in a position of strength, but they are, I think, running out of time because you only have so long to do this, especially now with E3. If E3 gets canceled because of the words I'm not going to say, you guys can fill in the blank. If E3 does end up getting canceled, that definitely puts a wrinkle in pretty much literally everything. But for PlayStation, you expect Microsoft is going to go up at E3 and talk about it, right? And so, yes, Sony wants to go second. They want to go after that and say, hey, let's we can beat this now. At the same time, if Microsoft is going to wait all the way till E3, I don't think Sony can wait till after E3 to do it. Maybe Sony expected Microsoft to do it before E3, in their own little thing, or through these, again, kind of random info drops, which is what they're doing. Maybe Sony's expecting them to do it at some point, right? But it seems also late April is what we got word on the street that Sony is talking about, that is when they're going to at least give us a good amount of information. Again, maybe not the price or release date, but a good, probably, I would assume, at the very least, the specs. At least the specs. Although I think you got to start coming out there and start leaking or talking about some of the games you're expecting. Even Microsoft, even before E3, you probably want to get it out there like, hey, here's when we're thinking about this, and we have a couple games in the works, and yeah, maybe you leak it out to some people, like what those games are. I feel like that would be April and May for both of these companies. So it's just tough. For Sony, it's like, I get it. I understand what they're trying to do, but at the same time, they're not playing from behind, but Microsoft is doing a good strategy, I would say, of, again, giving info, getting people excited, but not giving them everything, so there's always a little bit more to give, whereas Sony, for PlayStation, is keeping everything silent. Now, again, that could come back to absolutely win it for them, right, and to just steal everything from Microsoft, because if in one clean swoop, they come out and they say, here's the specs, here's the games, here's the DualShock, here's the release date, here's the price, and then Microsoft can only match the price, only ends up matching the price. It's like, wow, Sony just came out and literally crushed it, and will have the talking power for like weeks or even months, right, until they do even more stuff. So I think Sony's in a really weird spot. I understand what they're trying to do, but at the same time, like, I would like to know. It really seems like it's either $450 or $500. I think anybody expecting it to be under that is just kind of saying it like for their wallet's perspective, which is fine. I mean, it's totally reasonable to want the console cheaper, but I really don't think it's going to be lower than $450 or $500. I guess the bigger question would be some of those news stories we've talked about in the past couple weeks of like, hey, do they end up having more than one variation? There was a rumor around that Sony would have a PS5 and PS5 Pro. Okay, I think that's a terrible idea. I don't believe that rumor. But what would the prices be? Xbox, same thing. If the Series X, the one that they're gloating about, if that's actually the more powerful one, and then there's another one, what are the price points? What's the specs of the second one? So there's still definitely a lot to be talked about over the next couple months. Again, it really seems like Sony is going late April, but even that, I wouldn't put it past them to not talk about the release date or price, and then it goes to June. Even if E3 doesn't happen, it's just all kind of like online, like live streaming kind of thing. Microsoft does their own thing. They announce it. I could see Sony coming out next day, next week, doing it, and then obviously like pre-orders would go up immediately. I could definitely see that as a thing, but no matter what, next couple months are huge, are going to be very, very cool to be a gamer, not just because we're about to get hit with a huge tidal wave of really, really amazing games, but also because after that tidal wave of amazing games, we're going to get a ton of next generation info, which is always very, very exciting. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think? When are you expecting to get the PS5's price? What do you think the price is going to be? You think it's going to be $450? You think it's going to be $5? What price? Like, what's too high for you? Any of those things, let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys are subscribed and have that bell icon rung. We do new videos on this channel every single day, and so I hope to see you guys on tomorrow's video.